Hello all, welcome to my YouTube channel. So in today's video we are going to discuss about data types for Terraform variables. So let's start. So before moving to data types, first we will understand about the variables in more depth. So input variables are often referred to as just a variables or Terraform variables. So you should not be confused here with the naming convention. So basically, some people will say input variables, or some people will say variables, or some people will say Terraform variables. So there are basically different names, what this serves the same purpose. So you should not be confused with the naming convention. Each input variable accepted by a module must be declared using a variable block. So if you are using any variable in your module, that should be declared under this particular variable block. The label after the variable keyword is the name of the variable, name for the variable, which must be unique among all variables in same module. So if you are using the particular variable in same module, then the name should be unique. So if you see, this is the variable, here is the keyword, and this is the basically name of this particular variable block. So here we will see what's the basically module. So we will cover module in a separate video. So just remember, modules allow you to group resources together and reuse this group later, possibly many times. So in simple words, with the help of modules, we can allow resources together and we can reuse as a template for multiple places. This name is used to assign a value to the variable from outside and to reference the variable's value from within the module. So here we are talking about basically this name. So with the help of variable name, we reference this variable block with our Terraform configuration files. So the name of a variable can be any valid identifier except the following. So this particular variable name can be anything apart from these names, like for source, versions, providers, count, for each, lifecycle, depend on, and local. Why we can't keep these names? Because these things, basically these identifier are used in modules, or used in modules basically. So if you can see here, these names are reserved for meta argument in module configuration block and cannot be declared as a variable name. So whenever you are declaring any variable, you should avoid these names. Apart from these names, you can keep any names for your variable. So now next thing is argument. So if I'll go back to my previous slides. So after declaring this variable name, this is the argument basically type. So there are many arguments which we can use. So I'll go back to my next slide. So here we have a default, type, description, validation, sensitive, and the label. So Terraform CLI define the following optional argument for variable declaration. So basically these all or the arguments are optional. It's not mandatory you have to specify. So for example, if I'll just declare here variable and variable name and curly braces, and I will not specify anything under these between these curly braces, then also this variable will work. So it's not mandatory to specify any argument for this particular variable. So the first argument is default. So a default value which then makes the variable optional. So if you are keeping any default value in your variable block, that means that is a optional. You can overwrite it with the help of CLI or with the help of .tf var files. So the same thing basically we have discussed in the previous video, Terraform variables. So if you have not watched, you can go ahead and see that video also. Next we have a type. So this argument specify what value types are accepted for the variables. So with the help of type, you can restrict the values. Like for example, if you want the variable value only in string format or in a number format, so those type kind of restrictions basically you can achieve with the help of type. So we will see in a demo all these things. Next we have a description. This specify the input variables documentation. So generally we will write down about that variable, like what's the purpose, why we are using that variable. So you can use as a description, as a block description to write those information about your variable. Next we have validation. So you can specify custom validation rule for a particular variable by adding a validation block within the corresponding variable block. So inside the variable block itself, you can create one more validation block, and you can define your custom rules. Next, we have a sensitive. So setting a variable as a sensitive prevent Terraform from showing its value in a plain or apply output when you use that variable elsewhere in your configuration. So basically, what's the purpose here is sensitive. Suppose you are using your suppose DB password in your variable block. So and you don't want, like, whenever you run Terraform apply command, it will show you the complete output. So you want to avoid that particular output in plain text. So if you can use a sensitive as an argument, so it will not display that particular password value in a plain text format, but the same value you can see in your what is called tf state files. Next, we have a nullable. So specify if the variable can be null within this module. So I hope you got this, got my point about arguments. We will see all these things in a demo, so you will be more clear. Okay, I think okay. So next we have a type constraint. So basically here we are talking about. Let me go back to this particular type. So if you see here, I have specified type equal to string. So basically this in this slides we are discussing about type is string only. So this is basically most useful in your Terraform configuration. So the type argument in a variable block allow you to restrict the type of value that will be accepted as the value for a variable. So if you are so with the help of type constraint, you can restrict the value for your variable. If no type constraint is set, then value of any type is accepted. So if you are not specifying, like for example type is equal to string or type is equal to number, then the variable can accept any type of values. It could be a string, number, boolean, any values it can accept. So it's recommended you should specify the type as a type, what type basically variable it and what's the purpose is going to solve. So those particular type you have to specify in your configuration variable file. Type constraints are created from a mixture of type keyword and the type constructor. The supported type keywords are so as we discussed, so we have string, number, list, map, bool. So these are the type constraint basically you can use in your variable block. So string, a sequence of Unicode character representing some text like hello. So this is very simple, straightforward. So if you have anything in double quotes, between double quotes, that is called as a string. So it's not like it should be a text only. It could be anything between those two quotes. Number, a numeric value. The number type can represent both whole number like 15 and fractional values also. So you can have both type of values if you are using numbers. Next we have a list, or we also call it a tuple. So is a sequence of similar values indexes by numbers starting with 0. So what does it mean here? So suppose I have a list. Basically in simple words you can assume it's kind of an array, and we know in any of the programming language we count arrow starting from 0. So if I'll see here in this particular example, so I have a list of array here, us best 1a comma us hyphen best hyphen 1c. So if you have to fetch the particular value from this list, so what you can do, so the basically numbering start from not 1, it start from 0. So if you put 0, then you will get the value of us best hyphen 1a. If you put 1, then you will get the value of us hyphen best hyphen 1c. So we will see in demo, then you will understand in more. Just remember in the list the numbering start from 0, not from 1. So it accept any type of values as long as they are all the same types. Next we have map. So a group of values identified by name labels, like name equal to Mabel and age. So it's basically if I'll talk in simple words, it's kind of key value pair things. So this is the key and this is the value. It's more similar to key pair. It's not exactly the key value pair, but it's more similar to key value pair. Next we have bool. So a boolean value either true or false. Bool value can be used in conditional logic. So if you are using like for any loop things, in that case you can use booleans also. So I hope you clears this type constraint. We will see in demos, so you will get more clarity on this. So let's move to demo. Okay, so this is my main Terraform configuration file. Here what I'm doing, I'm using two resource block, one for security group and another resource block for EC2 instance. And you can see for most of the arguments, I have created a variable. So for example, if I'll see the provider block, so for provider block or region, I have created a variable called region. So if I'll go back to my variable.tf files, so if I'll go back here, if you can see the variable name we have region and variable type I'm using here list. So, and the default value I have specified ap-south1 comma ap-northeast-3, and you can see some numbers also here because the list type I have specified here any. I have not specified the string or any numbers, so that's why it can accept any values. So we will see when we run Terraform apply command. And next, if I'll go back to this particular resource block, so for this resource name, for the security group name, basically I'm using variable.name block. So if I'll go back to my again variable.tf file, so if you see this particular variable name, here we are using type as a string, and this is the default value I have specified as CGP. And for ingress controller, if you see, for from port number to port number, I'm using here HTTPS port number as a variable, and for this particular ingress I'm using HTTP port number. So this is for 443 and this is for a port number 80. And for CIDR blocks, I'm using this particular variable name. So we will see the types basically. So if you see for both the ingress, basically I'm using type as a number because there we need a port number. So I'm using the type as a number. So if you specify this particular value, like for any string format, it will not accept. It will throw the error. And for region, we are using list, and for variable instance types. If I'll go back again, so if you see for EC2 instance, I'm using this instance type as a map. So map basically key and value. So if I'll go back here, so if you see ap-south-1, this is the key and this is the value for this particular key. So this particular key or map basically I'm specifying in main.configuration file. So I'm specifying here like ap-northeast-3. So whenever I run the Terraform plan command, it will pick this particular value t2.nano. So if you want t2.small, you can specify this particular key ap-south-1. And if I'll go back to my terraform.tf var files, so let me comment this file for time being. Okay. Okay, actually I made some mistake during comments, so let me change it. Okay, give me a second. Okay, so I have commented terraform.tf var files. So basically I'm using this variable.tf file for all the values itself. So I'm not using terraform.tf var files for now. So let me run terraform plan command. So now here we can see plan 2 to add. So basically it's creating a one security group and one EC2 instance. So let me clear the screen. Let me run terraform apply command. So it's asking for confirmation. So now you can see it start creating the instance for us. So we just need to verify if this particular the parameters or variables which we have declared it's working fine or not. Then later once it's completed, then what we will do, we will change this type value here. Like for time being I have specified list type any and type map any. So these values will try to change and we'll say this will it work or not. So let me clear the screen. So if I'll go back to my AWS console and I'll refresh it, so now you can see it's created the instance type t2.nano because we have specified ap-northeast-3 and we have associated this particular variable in our resource block. So now what I will do, I'll go back to my variable.tf files and here okay, in list I will change here any to number. So now you can see in default values I have some string formats, not all the numbers basically. So I'll save it and in map also let me change it to number. Now let me run Terraform plan command. So now you can see we got two errors. Invalid default value for variables. So this is the region. If I'll see here region, we have a list. So this default value is not compatible with the variables type constraint. A number is required. But here we don't have number, we have string also. So that's why we are getting error for this particular variable region. And another we are getting invalid default value for variables. This is we are getting for map basically. So here what I have done, I have changed map type to number and here we are passing the value in a string format. So it's getting failed basically. So that's the basically main purpose to use a type constraint in your Terraform configuration file. For example, you have created the variable.tf files and coming future somebody will come and pass any random values which is or any instance which will cost you more. So to avoid those things basically you can restrict the variable value types with the help of type constraint. So now what I will do, I'll change back to any and here also I'll change back to any, save. So now what I will do, if you see the instance type earlier I have created t2.nano because we have associated this particular key. Now what we will do, we will associate this particular key in our main configuration file. So what I will do, I'll change the value from ap-northeast-3 to ap-south1. Let me save it. And now I will run Terraform apply. So now it will start modifying the instance. So now the command is completed. Let me go back to my AWS console and let me refresh it. So now we got an instance type t2.small because we have changed the map value from here like key ap south 1 from northeast 2. So that's how basically we use list and map in our configuration file. And one more thing I just want to show you. So if you see here variable.tf files, so if you see demo hyphen this particular variable name we are using in CIDR blocks. So now let me do one thing. I will comment this particular file, oh sorry, this block. So now we are utilizing .tf var files. So if you see for this particular variable name, I don't have any default values. I have saved it. If I'll go back to my terraform.tf var files, I will uncomment these things. Let me save it. So now you can see I have a value for all the variable, like name we have this value, but I don't have any value for this particular variable demo hyphen IP. Now let me run Terraform apply command. So now you can see as soon as you run Terraform apply command, it will ask for the value for this particular variable. So let me copy this particular value. So basically it's completely optional. You should not you are not like you should not add this values in variable file itself. You can utilize command line also. Okay, so now it's it apply completed because the value is same. If I'll again run the Terraform apply command and I'll change the value from 21 to 22. Now it will start modifying the CIDR blocks value. So now you can see, okay, it asking for confirmation. So now it started modifying the value. So that's how basically we use data types in Terraform configuration. So I hope you got some idea about Terraform data types in Terraform variables. So thank you so much for today. See you in next video.